Hello everyone, my name's Alan Kirksey. Welcome to the channel Must Love Labs. On this channel we bring you tools and tips for how to raise, breed, and sell Labrador Retrievers as quality family pets. So if you're new here, you might consider subscribing. In this video we're going to talk about how to become a dog breeder, specifically my 7 tips for how to get started. So let's get into the content. Tip number 1, ask yourself, why do you want to be a dog breeder? You have to know what your why is, folks. Why do you want to do this? Are you looking to make some extra money? Do you really love animals? Do you always thought about breeding dogs but never really wanted to jump in and give it a shot? Find out what your why is. It's important because it sets the stage for all the decisions that you make afterwards. So that's the tip. Ask yourself, why do you want to become a dog breeder? That's tip number 1. Okay, moving right along, here's tip number 2. Ask yourself, do you love dogs? And notice I didn't say, do you like dogs, or are you okay with dogs, or can you tolerate dogs? I said, do you love dogs? And here's why you need to know the answer to that question. If you decide to become a dog breeder, you are going to be knee deep in dogs. They're going to be in your life. They'll be in your house. They'll be in your family. They'll be in your finances. And that's just the dogs. Wait till you get puppies. They are non-stop mess makers. The poop, the pee, the food, the barking, the howling, the need for attention. It takes time, it takes energy, and it becomes a big part of your life. And here's what will happen. If you don't love dogs, you won't do it. You'll stop. You'll give up probably right in the middle of it, and it'll end up being a disaster. I would save you that. So here's tip number 2. Ask yourself, do you love dogs? If the answer is no, then you might want to think about doing something different. And moving into tip number 3. Identify your customer. That's the tip. Identify your customer. We talked about selling dogs. Folks, who are you going to sell these puppies to? You need to know that up front. Do you have an arrangement with somebody that has a pet store? Do you know another breeder that's looking to bring new dogs into their inventory? Are you a member of a club? There's all kinds of different answers to these questions. You might be selling dogs as family pets individually to the general public like I do. But you need to know the answer to this question, because there's no way you can develop a marketing strategy if you don't know who your customer is. So just understand that up front. And this will also help you later with deciding exactly what you want to sell to that customer. So that's tip number 3. Identify your customer. Who are you going to sell these dogs to? And that brings us to tip number 4. And this might even be the most important of all the tips I had to give you today. Choose your breed. Folks, which breed of dogs do you want to deal with? And I highly recommend you stick to one. And it's an important decision. There's costs. You have to figure out, we talked about who your customer is and what are they looking for. What's it going to take for you to get involved? You're going to have to go and buy some dogs. Excuse me. So choose your breed. And where you live has a lot to do with that. For instance, if you live way up north and you want to breed a type of dog that doesn't have very much hair, how are you going to keep them warm? Are you going to put them in a kennel? Are they living in your living room? What are you going to do? Same as if you live in a real warm climate, like if you're down in Florida or South Texas or something, you might not want to breed Malamutes. That's up to you. Your air conditioning bill is going to be real high. Keeping those dogs comfortable, I can tell you that. And those are just a couple of things. The list goes on. Some breeds sell for more than others. Some breeds are harder to take care of than others. Some breeds have bigger litters than others. There's lots of different considerations. I suggest you stick to purebreds. That's up to you, but this is all going to be part of your homework. So choose your breed. It's important to know, and I do recommend that you stick with one. And also, another thing to consider when you're choosing your breed, I highly recommend you go with AKC registered purebreds. There's other registries, there's plenty of them, and they're all good, don't get me wrong. But we talked about becoming a breeder, and you want to make a little bit of money, at least try to cover your dog food bill. The AKC purebreds fetch the highest prices. Now that doesn't include going into some specialty breeds. There's guys out there, for instance, there are guys and gals that are breeding Labradoodles, okay? That's not necessarily a purebred, but they do fetch a pretty high price if the puppies are quality. So that's something to consider as well. But just getting started, unless you're doing something real specialty, I recommend AKC registerable purebreds. Okay, that brings us to tip number 5. You need to have a place with the space. What do I mean by that? Well, different dogs require different amounts of space. My Labradors take up a certain amount of space. Somebody else that's dealing with Yorkies take up maybe a little bit less space. So you've chosen your breed, and now you need to decide how you're going to make that happen. Now, in the beginning, they're probably going to be in your living room, someplace where you can keep a close eye on them. A small pen with a kiddie pool is really all it takes. Give mama dog some privacy and let her have her puppies. That's in the beginning. A little bit later on, they're bigger. They need more room. They need more space. Okay, so consider what you're doing. Consider your breed and ask yourself the question, do you have a place to do this, and does that place have adequate space? And I'm not just talking about room for dogs to move around a little bit, but they need room to move around a little bit. They're going to be playing, they're going to be running around. Mama dog's got to give them some attention. They need to go outside and spend some time outside, like 3 times a day. You should exercise dogs if you want to treat them well, and the list goes on. So consider all these things. Maybe even stop in and visit somebody that's already doing what you're thinking about doing and see what they've got going on. But here's the question and the tip. Do you have a place, and do you have the space? Okay, I'm glad you're still here and watching the video. And if you've gotten value out of this video so far, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really does help. I sure do appreciate that. And that's going to bring us to tip number 6. Tip number 6 is start small. Start small. It's the biggest mistake people make when they're dealing with any kind of a project that involves animals. They get too many too fast, and then they get overwhelmed because they don't know what they're doing yet. There's a learning curve. You need to work your way through that. So start small. Dave Ramsey preaches in his leadership series about keeping your mistakes small, non-fatal. Okay, you're going to make mistakes. It's part of the success process. There's no way to become successful without making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. The trick is to keep your mistakes small and non-fatal. And you do that by starting small. Okay, and that brings us to the final tip for today. Tip number 7, be committed. Now, what do I mean by be committed? Dabblers don't get very committed with things. Be committed to your dog's health. Okay, this means that you work in conjunction with a veterinarian. You take your dogs to the vet. You spend a little extra money and you get them good food. You spend a little extra time researching what they need so that you can get them a good, healthy, quality atmosphere. Socialization. You're going to want to spend time with these animals every day, puppies especially after you get your adult dogs grown up and they're breeding. You have to socialize puppies and get them used to being handled and touched and teaching them how to not bite people. This is all part of breeding dogs. Socialization, looking after their health, looking after their environment. This takes commitment. Don't be a dabbler. Commit yourself to the project. Tell yourself that you want to deliver the most quality product that you can to your customers. And if you stay committed, it'll show and you'll do well. Well, there you go, folks. Those are my 7 tips for getting started becoming a dog breeder. Obviously, there's a lot more going on than just 7 things, but I'm sure you know that. And those are 7 good tips to help you get started. Now, you definitely want to go ahead and hit that like button if you got value from this video. And you want to subscribe to my channel because this is just the first video in a series. I will be making more. Feel free to leave comments in the comments box if there's things that you'd like to hear me talk about and bring up in conversation in the future. So thanks again for watching Must Love Labs, and we'll see you in the next video.